Today we are going to be talking about the one-handed arcane staff on the mage tree here in Albion Online. The one-handed arcane staff is really good for different types of myths, corrupteds, and open world content, whether it be in small groups or 1v1s. The one-handed arcane staff boasts tons of single target damage as well as utility such as silences and purges that can be used against your opponent to take down their different types of defensive abilities and combos. What we're going to talk about today is I'm going to talk to you about different builds and the helmets, chest pieces, boots, capes, and the different abilities that you use on the one-handed arcane. I'm also going to walk you through the different types of tech that you want to look for while using it, and then I'm also going to take you into the training arena and show you some of the different things that I used when I was playing the arcane staff, whether I was doing myths or corrupted dungeons. But the arcane staff overall is a really fun weapon to play. It is a high skill ceiling weapon as it does have its Q, which is a skill shot that has to be aimed, as well as the E has to be aimed, and the W does have a blade, and then it has a blink that gives you 0.2 seconds of invulnerability or an iframe, and this iframe can be used to dodge a lot of different types of damage when fighting different opponents. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is going to be the different setups for the arcane staff. And do keep in mind that these aren't the only armor pieces and offhands and capes that you can use for the one-handed arcane. These are just some of the things that I've used, I've seen others used, and they have a lot of success using the arcane staff with these different types of armor pieces. Again, go out there, test different armor pieces that you want, different foods, different potions, different offhands for your type of playstyle. Albion Online is a very versatile game, and there's a lot of different things that can work. These right here have just happen to be working for me. So the first thing we have is the Master Arcane Staff, which is the weapon of choice for this video, and I'm going to talk about the abilities when we get into the little training arena that is on the personal island. But what we have is for the offhands, I'm going to go down the list on all of these and kind of explain what each one is and why I would use it. We have the Master's Mistcaller, which you can use any tier, of course. I just have tier 6 equivalent for all of these. It has a cooldown modifier, so just get more cooldowns to have more abilities. Musak gives you more damage, but it does take away more energy. So ability cost reduction is -9%, so it actually takes more energy to cast your stuff, but you do a lot more damage. The one-handed arcane staff is heavy on auto attacks, so Chain Lightning with the Thepfer cape is amazing because every single 15 seconds you could do 214 more damage with this cape. So chaining your light attacks and then Thepfer can help add to that. We have Martlock cape. And Martlock cape, what it does is it's essentially a resistance potion on your back. So when your health drops below 25%, your defense increases by 50% for 5 seconds, essentially saving you for the end of the fight and helping you take down your opponent when the fight gets close, like in a corrupted dungeon, for example. We have Guardian Helmet, which has the Emergency Shield ability, which when you're below 40% health, it'll give you 697 shield, and it cleanses damage over time effects. For example, you can shed curse stacks, you can shed bleeds from an axe. So if a curse staff puts 4 stacks of vile curse on you and they go to cast their E, which has that skull above your head, and you press this cleanse button before the E goes off, it'll cleanse those 4 stacks, and that E won't do a lot of damage because that's what they rely on. Most people will mention Guardian Helm when it comes to fighting against curse staffs. That's the way that you use it, and it also just helps you at the end of the fight, give you some extra shield when you're below 40% health to, help you with the end of the fight. We have Hunter Hood, which currently has damage resistance and a reflect of 100%. This is going to get nerfed on May 8th, so if you're watching this video after May 8th, I believe it's moving to 85%, which I still think Hunter Hood will be viable. It just won't be as strong with the 100% reflect, but this is another good one to help deny people's combos or people who rely on, for example, like a regular bow or whispering bow. If they're doing their E combo on you and you proc Hunter Hood, they're going to be smacking themselves at the same time as they're hitting you. We have Mercenary Jacket, which has Bloodlust. This as well is going to be nerfed in the upcoming May 8th patch. Again, it's going to be a slight nerf to the healing that Bloodlust gives. Again, I still think that this jacket will be usable. So what this does is you turn it on and it only applies up to 7 times. Every time you deal direct damage, you get heals. So with this and the arcane staff, we'll talk about it later how the autos work, but this is an auto attack heavy weapon. So you're going to be using your abilities and chaining in a lot of auto attacks. So you can get your bloodlust off pretty well using the one-handed arcane. So this is another one that can help you give you a little sustain. We have Cleric Robe, which has the Everlasting Spirit. So you invoke a magical ward that lasts 1.5 seconds. The next time you take damage when that ward is active on you during that 1.5 seconds, you'll become immune to further damage for 3 seconds, and it increases all your damage and healing cast by 20%. So the thing with this is it'll turn on, you do more damage, and you are invincible. You're not invincible, you're immune, so you can't take damage. So this is a kind of a get out of jail free card towards the end of the fight, that 3 seconds, or you can use it to avoid different types of damage or burst from your opponent. We have the Cultist Robe, which is very strong in corrupted dungeons. It's probably not going to be as strong in Mist because you have to be stationary while using it, but in any type of Mist environment, especially right now, now if the meta is still a lot of range weapons. Levitate is amazing because if your opponent backs off in any way, you levitate in place and it restores 7.5% of your max health and 5% of your max energy every 1 second while channeling for up to 4.5 seconds and increases your damage resistance. So this can be interrupted because you're going to be floating in place, but if your opponent backs off in any way, you can activate this and get a ton of heals, as well as Cultist Robe is one of the highest damage dealing chest pieces in the game. So there's Cultist Robe and there's 3 other. There's like Mage Robe, Phase Scale Robe, and I believe it's the Robe of Purity is the other one. So if we were to go to the Mage, yeah, Robe of Purity, they're all 15% across the board, 50%, 50%, and all the other ones are 45 or 40. So these 4 right here are the highest DPS chest pieces, as well as when you add aggression to it, it gives you another 8%. Just keep that in mind. Cultist Robe, you're going to be hitting like a truck, especially that, and you can also use Mage Robe too. Mage Robe is another one that you can use with Arcane to help purge other people's buffs, but I didn't include it in this video. I just have these 3, but just keep in mind, yeah, Mage Robe's another one you can use. We have the boots, so I have Defenseless Rush with the Royal Sandals. This is more of like a miss open world because these are unpurgeable. They're a toggle boots, so if you activate them and someone tries to use a Fiend Cowl and purge your boots, it won't work. So this one's kind of nice for a lot of situations where you could become unpurgeable, and it goes for a pretty good distance, 75% movement speed, and the ability can last up to 7 seconds, so it's pretty good. And this one right here, this one lasts for 5 seconds, so increases your movement speed by 80%, and it heals you for 126 health over 5 seconds. So Soldier Boots or any plate boot, this one's amazing for Mists and Corrupted Dungeons as well. Open world is going to be a little bit more risky just because it doesn't go as far as the Royal Sandals, as well as it is purgeable. So, and then whenever we have the passes for all of these, we're going to be taking any type of DPS increasing passives. So we're going to take Aggression on the Cloth, we're going to be taking Balanced Mind, and then for any of the plate stuff, we'll be taking Toughness so that we can get more defense out of them. And then we have the foods. So we have Beef Stew just to increase all damage. We have Eel Stew, which is a combination of damage and cooldown rate, so you can get your abilities back faster. And then if you just want to go straight cooldown, you have Pork Omelet. So this one gives you cast speed and cooldown rate by 13.5%. And then I usually run Healing Pots in the Corrupted Dungeons. You could take Invis Pots to the Mist. I like taking Invisibility Pots personally, but a lot of these things aren't going to be as accessible on E-server because they're probably more expensive. So these kind of offhands are going to be more expensive in general. You could run a Torch with One-Handed Arcane if you are doing a cheaper build on East, but overall this is how the build's going to work. And then Healing Pot is perfect because it can help you keep your health back up. So it'll restore 18% of your max health over 9 seconds. So pretty amazing. And I use that in Corrupted Dungeons whenever I'm running the One-Handed Arcane. So I'm going to put an armor set on here. We're just going to do Hunter Hood, Cultist Robe, Soldier Boots, and then I'm going to set the abilities. I'm just going to take a Thepfer Cape. We don't have a bag. I guess the food doesn't matter. And I'm going to take a Mist Collar. So this is one of the setups that I've used before when running Corrupted Dungeons, and it's worked pretty well. Has like a decent win rate. So I'm going to run over here, but the part of this video is going to be talking about the abilities. So I'm going to explain the abilities on the One-Handed Arcane, kind of the tech that you want to look for, and the high skill ceiling that comes with this weapon is the iframes and skill shots. So there's a lot of room to improve with this weapon. So when you first start using it, if you are struggling and losing a lot of fights in Corrupted Dungeons, just hang in there, keep trying, keep working and concentrating on hitting your skill shots, because the Q is an aim and shoot, the E is an aim and shoot, and then the W it's a slash, and then you have the iframe teleport, which you can actually prevent damage during that teleport. So I'm going to go over the abilities for you guys. So we have the Chain Missile, and this is the bread and butter of the Arcane Staff. Well, first, let's talk about the passive. So it has Lingering Power. So after casting any spell, increase your attack speed by 120%, and your attack range by 33% for the next 3 normal attacks within 3 seconds. So what that means is, if I use any ability, I'm going to have 3 fast autos, and they're going to go away. I could use this ability and I have 3 fast autos, and it's going to show up there. If I proc my boots, you see it up here. It has 3 on it, so you could do the 3 auto attacks. If I Q, I can auto attack again. So that's where the auto attack chains come in. You get a lot of damage out of your autos, so you just have to keep that in mind. We have Chain Missile, which shoots a chain missile in a targeted direction, dealing 439 magical damage to the first enemy hit. Upon hitting an enemy, it'll jump to the closest enemy within 7 meters. If you're in a 1v1, that doesn't really matter. What it does, though, is it does apply 1 arcane charge to all enemies hit. And what this does is an arcane charge is consumed whenever you deal direct damage to the affected target, dealing an additional 183 damage. Chain Missile damage does not count as direct damage. So what that means is, if we are to, let's say, hit a Q, and they have that charge on them, if we hit another Q, that's not going to do anything. So what we have to do is we have to hit a Q, and then we auto to get that arcane charge to go off. So right here, so the arcane charge is going to be on your opponent, and once you hit them, it'll show it. So here it is right here, the arcane charge. We need to hit them with some type of direct damage, whether that be our W, whether that be if we were to hit him with this and then we hit him with an E, that'll activate it. But if you hit him with another chain missile, that will not. So you could do this, you can hit him with an auto, it'll activate the arcane charge, and Theptford Cape will go off as well, doing another 214 damage. So I'm sure you can start to see the type of auto attack damage that this is going to be doing, especially when you're constantly hitting Qs. Your Qs are the bread and butter of this build. If you're always hitting your Qs, you're going to be getting that extra damage. So that's the play that you want to do with this. And you're going to be weaving in a lot of auto attacks. So the next one that we have is, I'm going to move off of that, is Enigma Blade. So we have two abilities here that I would use in PvP, and that's going to be Enigma Blade and Frazzle. So Frazzle is kind of a weird one. I have fought against people using Frazzle as a range player, and it hits like a truck. So when you hit someone with this, it decreases their defense by 23%, and it makes your Qs and auto do a crap ton of damage. So this one's kind of like a weird one if you want to try once you get used to the Arcane Staff, but the real tech comes out of the Enigma Blade. So what this does is it's a 2 ability, and it's a combo that resets after 4 seconds. And what it'll do is it'll conjure a magic blade that hits all enemies in a cone, dealing 548 magical damage. Hitting at least one enemy enables the next combo ability. So you can use this on an enemy, you can use this on like a bat in a corrupted dungeon, you can use this on a rabbit open world, you can use it on anything to get the teleport. The second one is Flicker. You can teleport to the target position. You cannot teleport through obstacles though. You grants immunity to damage for 0.2 seconds. So you have a 0.2 second window of invulnerability while you're teleporting. So the best tip that I have for you, for example, if you're trying to iframe and teleport out of a, let's say a Curse E, which is like the perfect example of something that you can iframe, and if you iframe, you essentially win the fight. When you use this blade, so use the blade, I'd look up at the top left and look for the death curse that's counting down, and right before it's about to be done, that's when you go for the teleport, because 0.2 seconds is a very tight window. And to hit it, looking at the countdown of the damage that's about to happen to you, or if someone's about to hit you, or you can use it to reposition as well. Like if an axe comes flying at you, you can teleport out of the way, or there's a lot of different things you can use this teleport for that makes the fight different. You can blink in, you can blink out. This teleport is amazing, and it's part of what makes this weapon a high skill ceiling weapon. So that iframe can make or break a lot of fights, as well as again hitting your Qs. You need to make sure you're constantly hitting Qs so you can chain your autos. And just remember, it's not only the Q that gives you auto attack. Any ability, if you activate any ability, you get auto attack chains. But the big one is going to be those arcane charges. You want to get as many arcane charges on your opponent as possible when using this. The next one we have is Arcane Orb, and it shoots a sphere of arcane energy in a target direction, dealing 243 damage in a 6-meter radius upon impact. But what this does though is it purges all buffs on the enemy except healing over time effects, and it silences the enemy player for 2.5 seconds. There's so many things about this staff that can make it just an absolute monster in PvP, and this E is one of them. Being able to purge buffs such as a Retaliate, or if someone's using a Merc jacket, like a mercenary jacket heal, or someone's using their cultist's robe, you can silence them. You can also purge buffs. You can purge boots. If someone's chasing you, you can hit them with this E and take away their boots if they're running at you with Rejuvenating Sprint. If they're running away from you and you can hit the E on them, you take away their boots. If they're Wanderlusting, you can hit them with the E. There's a lot of things you can cancel. You can cancel people's combos. You can silence them. You can purge buffs. Like, there is just so many things that this E can do, and you just aim and shoot, and then it'll hit the 6-meter radius. So this is another part of the Arcane Staff that you have to get down when it comes to the PvP aspect of it. So it's just about the Qs, it has the teleport, and then it has the purge silence E, which makes it just absolutely amazing. So those are the 3 abilities as well as the passive. It's just all about chaining those auto attacks. And a little tip here for chaining the auto attacks is if you're going to be standing here like this, and let's say that you hit another Q, you're going to be auto attacking a lot, and sometimes there's that little stand time. It's not very noticeable, but you kind of just stand there and you're not auto attacking. You're like, you go to press auto attack and your character just kind of stands there and he's not doing it after casting an ability like that. What I do is I kind of walk around in auto, so I'll like slice and I'll walk and then I'll auto. I'll take that second to like kind of kite. I mean, he did it again there, but you can move around. You could practice moving around a lot so that downtime doesn't really affect you, so you can keep the autos flowing. Keep it going like that. You throw one, you hit again, you throw another Q. I mean, he did stand time again. There's kind of like, just take the time to be able to kite around with it, and don't be like a turret. So it just takes a lot of movement, especially if you're wearing cloth. You never want to be standing still. You always want to be a moving target so your opponent has a hard time hitting you. And then, you know, we have the W active, we're queuing, He's going to throw an ability. We teleport, we purge, we come in for another engage. Like, there's just a lot of different ways that you could play the Arcane Staff. That's going to be it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned some things about the one-handed arcane to get out there and start slinging some arcane missiles here in Albion Online. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see all of you in the next video, and I'll see all of you in Albion Online.